Right, no time for a cold opening. Welcome to the serious podcast. We are in the desert. We have killed many monsters, aliens,
Yes.
demons, and whatnot. And
And
now we are
about to die.
moving along.
Because I have 37 health left.
Well, it's a test for your skills, indubitably.
There's stuff over there. But I'm
The music
very
suggests some
skeptical,
sort of action going on.
and I'm skeptical about what type of action they want to put me into.
Alright, so let's literally talk about the weather. Dun, 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 dun,
Whoa.
dun, 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 dun,
If I knew that
dun,
one was coming.
dun,
Whoa!
dun, 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 dun,
Okay.
dun.
Like-
Okay, I've had this theme, this blasted little tune stuck in my brain in the last month. I was finally starting to get it out of there, out of my membrane space, but now we're doing this again, and
Okay,
what do you know?
Well-
It's that music again, that really catchy, addicting desert dune action tune.
Let me see what that option again for that, because I keep on forgetting the keys for certain things.
Well, in fairness, it's been more or less a month since we played this, if
That's
not more. After all, we've been stuck doing several sessions of Dweller's Empty Path,
Yeah, we have been.
which I did not expect it to last more than one session. It took us 3 of those gaming sessions to finish that game.
It was quite a hefty thing, wasn't it? You know,
Yes, I expected it to be about the length of Escaped Chasm, but it was about thrice as long.
Actually, just because I've got rid of that message, let's just overwrite this.
Right, as I was saying, let's talk about the weather, Davar.
Which aspect about the weather, other than...
It's terrible, I hate it, I hate summer. You know that evil guy from the Recess film on Disney Channel who wanted to destroy summer by turning it into winter? I'm on his side now. Let's kill summer, I don't care. Summer blows. Much like that bison over there. It blew away. That's
Yeah.
clever.
Um,
That's my clever commentary for tonight. There, I did it. I acknowledged the gameplay. Now, back to the weather.
yeah, this is where I'm probably not on your side with this one, because I find winter to be the worst season for... Wait,
Okay, so let me put it this way. It was dry and hot for the vast majority of this summer. Then we had a reprise of a couple of days in which the weather was a bit more cool. Then it rained, and now it's both hot and humid. It's dry during the day, then the fog descends on the nights, so now it's also humid on top of everything else. If I didn't have air conditioning, I would be dead. I cannot stand the heat. I cannot stand it. I would rather feel the cold, honestly. In my experience, I can deal more with the cold than with the heat. And this is just a broken record by this point. Every time we get to summer and somehow we are still alive, in spite of everything, I complain about the weather.
Yeah.
I'm a 60 years old man in the body of a 34 years old man.
Oh, come on, that's cheap.
I have already lost count on how many times you died.
3 right now, but unless you mean the
Okay.
entire game,
No, I mean right now.
then I have no idea other than 3.
You might want to consider lowering the difficulty so that we might be able to have more fluid conversations.
No. I mean, yes, I probably might do it at this rate, but I could have sworn that I didn't put it on that hard.
No, it's normal difficulty, but again, Serious Sam, as we discovered the hard way, does not lend itself all too well to smooth conversational topics. Unlike Heretic, which was surprisingly manageable, all things considered.
I'm surprised he missed me.
I'm surprised you missed him twice.
Yes, I'm surprised as well, because I thought he was going to be in one place, but then turned out he wasn't going to be in that place. Oh no, I hate this, the fact it's giving me ammo for something.
You don't have the Gatling gun yet, do
Not
you?
Not yet, no.
Oh, well, second round! Ah.
Yep, I can hear them all around me.
All around me are familiar lack of faces.
Whoa.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Recently, I did a personal top 10 of video game soundtracks.
Yeah.
And I placed Serious Sam, The First Encounter, squarely on number 5.
That sounds very nice.
Yes. Also, there are a lot more really nice tunes in this game outside of the usual suspects, including the one we just heard multiple times just now.
Let's just save here since we've actually...
There is a sewer level later on, and the non-action portion of the music in the sewer level is a reference to The Thing.
Yep, this is a thing we're doing right now.
I mean, The Thing by John Carpenter. I mean, the music composed by Ennio Morricone for The Thing by John Carpenter.
You know what, we're just gonna reload.
So in my experience in trying to get myself acquainted with this style of games, I'm talking about Serious Sam 2. Well, it's not actually Serious Sam 2, it's the second encounter. It's confusing, just roll with it. The greatest difficulty I find with these games is the weapon switching. It's a hectic situation, and I try to switch to a more appropriate weapon to the given circumstance, but I don't make it in time and then I die. It's very frustrating, and I'm very thankful for later games such as the new Doom games for having a very intuitive, very convenient way to switch from one weapon to another in real time.
Let's just try going backwards instead of just sticking around with these guys. They're uncool.
That seems like a good idea. You have an entire expansive desert to maneuver.
Whoa! Come on, come over the hill. I'm the Scotsman of the hill. Oh, not you guys. We didn't want you guys.
I have some topics to breach for our podcast portion of this gaming podcast.
Yeah, funny, I actually had a couple of topics myself.
Then, by all means, do proceed. Once you are done with the cleansing, that is.
Well, I was gonna say,
Wow, I can't believe I said cleansing. Oh, that sounds awful.
well, we are...
Yes. Oh, it was a late arrival there.
Well, I guess the clears didn't want to be a part of the clearings.
The queers are coming.
Okay. Maybe not say it like that.
Listen, we've had this exact joke 3 times already. I can't believe we are still doing it.
Yes, I know. So yeah, I was going to ask a question of... I was reminded... You know, I was thinking about our last session and our talking of inappropriate conversations to have in public.
Oh, right!
And,
that old chestnut.
Yeah, and I was reminded of one of Danton's friends from college who was probably the most inappropriate person to ever be in the room with in public.
Do you have the permission to tell this story?
Oh yes, he said it was fine. Just
Who said it, Danton or the friend in question?
Danton, because
Okay.
the friend in question cannot be
Reached?
yes, due to his own life reasons. Let's put it that way.
Okay, now you have me curious. I wonder if it's a better story than Invisible Penises.
Oh, you don't know the half of it. Okay, this might turn.
Well, I
into
would like to know the half of it and the full of it, so if you please.
Okay, this might turn into a Game Grumps episode if we're not careful, so...
I think it's too late for that, since last time.
Oh, look at this.
I still enjoy Game Grumps from time to time. I am not ashamed to admit it.
Yeah, I do enjoy what they do.
I should be too old for that, but then again, I should be too old for a lot of things, and yet I still enjoy them, so who cares?
Yeah, well, you just enjoy...
Oh, new weapon! I like this one.
Yeah, the... I
Pew, pew, pew,
I
pew,
did not
pew,
get a
pew.
chance to read what it was. Perhaps I should be using this weapon against the... There's so many things at once. Okay. So, I was about to say, this friend that Danton has, or had, I should say, because he hasn't seen him in, like, years. Very clever guy he was. But he always went with the most overcomplicated things in the world that were not a part of tests or anything of the sort. But his mind was not quite, let's say he didn't...
All there?
Let's say he just didn't give a shit, in layman's terms.
Okay, these are very layman's terms, I will have to admit that.
Okay. So, basically, there was, this one time, him and his friends and this friend that we are talking about, I should give him a name, but...
Let's call him Pierrot.
Okay, we'll call him Pierrot then. So, Pierrot were a part of this... this group of friends that in IT, I believe it was, that Danton was, in college for. And, this is getting a tad annoying. Okay, so... I shouldn't have walked into that wall. Anyway. So, and they decided to go out for a bit of an, eat for a celebration or lunch. I forget the context. It was many years ago. I was told this story. And Danton decided to buy himself a nice steak because why not? And
The stakes are high.
yes, the stakes were very high that day. So anyway, there was a lot of chatting going on about certain things until Pierrot brings up one conversation piece he had where he was talking about his time that he went to an S&M sex dungeon.
The gentleman's choice.
So yeah, and he was like explaining about his experience with a lady there. And where basically, which I will not mince words, he was actually genuinely scared for her life because he thought he broke her because she wouldn't stop bleeding from a certain region.
What kind of kinky play did they do?
To be honest, I did not get I don't think Danton even wanted to hear the end of that conversation because he basically... So then he basically said to Pierrot, I'm surprised you and the girl there are going to be talking about this sort of conversation while I'm trying to eat steak. And one of his friends looks to him and says, Danton, this is Pierrot we're talking about. And, and Danton's all like, oh yes, I'm the crazy one. How dare I forget?
That seems okay. Well, I was expecting a lot worse, if I'm being honest.
Oh, this is funny. This next one I'm telling you. This was a very quick one.
Oh, it's not over?
There's a second one I want to tell you, just because I find it funny personally. But,
okay. More about the escapades of Pierrot.
As I'm about to say, Pierrot. There was another incident where they went to a pub to play some pool. And they were taking it in turns, and as Danton was...
Oh, wait, hold on, the music is different.
Yeah, it's slightly different.
Oh, this is so good.
It certainly is good. So yeah, as I say, so Pierrot and his lady friend, I don't think they were girlfriends and boyfriend at the time, but...
It's not the same girlfriend from the sex dungeon, is it?
No, but...
Okay, good to know.
I will tell you, he was talking to her about said sex dungeon.
Oh, well, I'm glad they have that kind of honest relationship.
Yes. I think they were just friends at the time, though.
And they stayed friends, inexplicably.
I think so. Anyway, that's a different conversation entirely. So yeah. So Danton, while he was playing pool and his friend was accusing him of hustling him, Danton basically noticed Pierrot and his friend were basically watching something on his phone, and he came over to them and goes like, "What are you looking at?" And he just, without missing a beat, just said, "Coffin sex." And Danton was like, "Okay."
Come into the dungeon of the Count.
Oh no. Come into my coffee.
One coitus, two coituses, three coituses.
So yeah, you see, this man would have a conversation and even watch porn in public if he could.
This Pierrot sounds like such a subject. Yes, we have a term in Italy.
Really?
We use the term subject basically to indicate a person who is a tool, essentially.
A tool?
Yes.
That's a... I didn't think I would call Pierrot that, really, honestly.
Well, it's some sort of toolish behavior, don't you think? This lack of social awareness, or not caring about social awareness, which puts other people on the spot.
Yeah. That's understandable.
That's a bit of a toolish behavior.
Yeah.
Is a subject. Yes, we use the word subject.
I find that interesting, how people describe people in different cultures.
Actually, let me segue to something that I wanted to bring out for a veritable amount of time.
And what would that be?
Italian language is, in many ways, very oppressing.
Really now?
Well, let me put it this way. Every single word in our dictionary, in our vocabulary, in our mashup of words, if you will, in our word salad,
yeah,
is gendered. Every single word has a gender inclination to it. Whereas in the English vocabulary, there are many words who are gender neutral. There is no such a luxury in the Italian language and in many other languages descending from the Latin root as well. I'll give you a more apt and precise example.
Yeah.
You have two articles in the English language. You have the and a.
Yeah.
Simple, to the point, both articles are gender neutral. They can be applied to any and all words.
Yeah, any object or thing, essentially.
In Italy, we have several articles for several contexts and several words. We have male articles and female articles, plural female articles, plural male articles, so on and so forth. And the way they will be used depends on the kind of word. And as I said, every word is gender. So every word, to put it simply, is either a boy or a girl. And if you happen to be a non-binary person in Italy, then the language itself is actively working against you.
That sucks.
Yes. Okay, I'll give you an even more specific example. The word mountain.
Yeah.
Right? You use the article the before mountain. The mountain. There it is. The mountain doesn't have a gender. It's a mountain. It's a rock.
Yeah.
In Italy, the mountain is la montagna. It's a lady. It's a lady mountain, essentially. It is preceded by the article la, which is often used for singular female words. And I'm using male and female pronouns to describe nouns, mostly for a shorthand for what I'm trying to convey here.
Yeah.
And montagna ends with the letter A. The vast majority of words that end with the letter A are female words, so to speak, so they would be preceded by a female article, la montagna. So the mountain in Italian is la montagna, and it's a big lady, just like her little sister, the hill, which is la collina.
That sounds kind of cute.
And unlike the mount, which is il monte, male noun with a male article preceding it. So if you were ever wondering about the gender of Mount Fuji, now you know that according to us, he's a boy. I am being very facetious at this point, but you need to realize that I had this epiphany. I understand why it is so hard to learn Italian language from people who speak English, because I understand why it is so hard to learn a language like Italian or Spanish, if you will.
Or even Polish.
The great convenience about the English language, taking aside that whole issue about non-binary gendered people who find themselves living in a linguistic culture that really does not recognize their very existence, because, as I said, every single word is either a boy or a girl in terms of inclination.
Yeah.
The English language is a very convenient language. It doesn't use that many articles or that many words to describe something, an object or a person or anything in between. You only have two articles, and I wish we had that sort of convenience instead. I wish we didn't have words that were inevitably either boys or girls. And I understand how difficult it is to learn this language if you're coming from a much more simple, a much more convenient linguistic route that is English. It's actually, I think, much easier for me, an Italian, to learn English than it's the other way around, because I am coming from the position of having a much more complex language to go to a language that has much less in terms of needless words. I'm not saying it's a simpler language, I'm saying that English is a much more convenient language, which made it easier to become the most international language in that sense. Well, that and colonialism, but that's another can of worms entirely.
Yeah.
So, unsurprisingly, whenever there is a Anglo-Saxon person trying to speak Italian, they would inevitably use the wrong article to describe the wrong word. So, back to the example of la montagna, the mountain, they would say something really dumb, like il montagna, because there are too many articles and they get confused easily, so they use the wrong one, the male singular article, one of the two male singular articles, in fact, and they would apply it to the wrong word. Because yes, there are two kinds of male singular articles at least, and their application to a word will depend on whether or not said word will begin with a consonant or a vowel. So, as I said, it's a very complex language to learn if you're not, again, born in it.
Oh no. Secret
So
trap.
I'm telling you all this because I have a renewed appreciation and respect to those people who try to learn a different language from their own. And especially if they are in the position in which they wouldn't need to do so, because, again, English is the international language because of American imperialism. So, if they are going out of their way to learn a new language, then I respect them. Did I just spend the last 10 minutes or so talking about words who are either boys or girls?
Yeah, pretty much.
I know it sounds oversimplified, but I never had to explain language or the nuances of my linguistic basics. That's not exactly my branch of expertise, so to speak. So I tried my best.
That's fine. Like I said, it's the same with French, because they also have the male and female pronouns for very specific items and objects.
No, wait. Pronouns are another matter altogether. Every language has male and female pronouns. I was talking about the articles. The freaking articles, not the pronouns.
Right. I thought.
In fact,
I thought it was the same thing.
It is also very convenient in the English language that they and them can be used to describe a person whose gender is unidentified, and it's been like that for centuries, mind you, so it makes perfect sense as an organic evolution of the language that they them would be the choice pronouns for non-binary people. So whenever you hear all of those idiots complaining about they them and their use not being grammatically correct, they are ignorant morons. Now
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Though, mind you...
Literally, the English language allows for that sort of use. So you don't even have that excuse. It's a lot more complex if you're coming from the Italian language or the Spanish language or the French language or almost every other language that's not English. I think Turkish is even better than English in that regard.
I will say that I sadly, because of the my social ineptitude with dealing with people, sort of thing.
Aren't we all?
I actually upon my first meeting of a non-binary person, I actually accidentally gave a pronoun to that person.
Yes,
Yeah.
it must have sucked for them, but if you don't have any experience whatsoever dealing with certain kinds of people because you're being sheltered your whole life for this or other reasons,
Yeah.
I think you're allowed to make one mistake,
Yeah, but
especially if you are quick to correct yourself.
Yeah.
If you keep making the same mistake, however, that's where the issue starts to arise. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's bad for them, and I'm sorry, but we require to learn. We require the time to learn how to be better. We
Yeah.
can't just we can't just wake up one day and just be better. We have to work towards it.
Yeah.
But we have to be willing to do so, and that's the difference.
Yeah. Because the reason I say this is because, because this talk and I just reminded me of that moment, and I always felt bad and guilty for, getting it wrong, after after doing it twice by accident.
Oh, twice.
So I did it twice by accident because, because I've never had a non-binary friend before, so it's and I always kick myself because I should know better, but it's
This is more of a failure of society at the moment. This is why we need to have LGBTQ history and tradition be taught at schools. And on that note, Scotland is on the right path.
So is one school in England that has actually been trying to do that as well.
Yes, and I bet they faced all the opposition in the universe for daring to go against the norm.
Mainly it's the conservative type of people.
I mean, that's what I mean!
Everyone else thinks it's fine and dandy, while the conservative people are like, oh, we shouldn't be teaching the young children that. That's they shouldn't be having to deal with such complicated matters until they're older, sort of thing. And it's
I think you're being too diplomatic on behalf of these people.
No, that is actually what they said.
I know for a fact that they say much, much worse things.
That is what they said on the news, though. I remember seeing it, and honestly, I think that's bullshit.
By the same logic, they shouldn't be teaching you the Second World War in grade school, but they do it anyway, so...
Yeah, no,
what's the problem there?
Mean, we also got taught about the transatlantic slave trade and got told how wrong it is and how, bad it was.
But learning about your gay friend and your trans friend is too much. We have to protect the children from the corruption of the gays the trans.
Such outdated logic doesn't have a place here.
And this all just makes me go back to saying very bad words about J.K. Rowling.
Oh gosh, let's not. I think
you already know how I feel about that from my last outburst.
And you know how much I dislike J.K. Rowling.
I double as much resent J.K. Rowling for being a trash human being because of all the people
who look up to her. And
because of all the people whose life was changed for the better thanks to her stupid story. And now she wields that power, the power the story gave her, because of how much that story means to people. And so she wields the power given to her by millions of people who had a genuine emotional attachment to the novel. And in some cases, it even saved them. This is just the worst possible scenario to bring up death of the author, but here we are.
Yeah.
Although, when I say death of the author, I might actually mean it in a little more literal sense, I'm just saying.
Oh, God.
And I'm not going to continue this line of thought because it might lead to some Preoccupying legal action, so I'm
Yeah,
just going
let's
to drop it
not.
entirely. I'm just going to voice my definite opinion in that I don't much care for J.K. Rowling and her terrible opinions.
Yes, and let's not bring Douglas Tenaple back into the conversation either. The guy is, I can't believe it. He's like double standarding bastard he is.
Well, at least the Graham Lineham has lost everything and his life and career are ruined, so yay!
Okay, so onto a different conversation line to be a bit more positive, but segue into something similar to this conversation.
Oh, well, funny you should mention that because I have a problematic topic to breach. But please do go on before me.
So, I was thinking back to a couple of sessions ago, and I kicked myself for not bringing this up. But you remember when you and Y Boy were talking about the Black Panther movie?
Yes, I do.
I actually, in that time period between the now and then, me and my sweetheart actually got about watching Black Panther, and I really liked the story a lot, and its themes.
Yes, no, Black Panther is a good film. It's not my favorite, but it is an important film that we must have nowadays, and honestly, considering the times we live in, I respect it even more.
I actually like how it tackles certain subject matter, but yet, uses it as a way to bridge the gap to said subject matter, if you know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying.
Because essentially, in order to try and teach people about, about prejudice and racism, they basically went for, what if one of your own people decide to make you into an outsider just because of who you were born as a family. So, and it basically tries to teach you that it's a bad thing and causes nothing but a cycle of hatred and destruction in its wake just because of prejudice in the form of turning someone into an outsider because of their family ties. And I thought that was very well, thought out to basically try and show, universally speaking, what such hatred can cause.
Yes, Wakanda is a modern Afro-futuristic utopia, but it's held back by its own isolationist trappings, which is what led to the proliferation of colonialism in the logic of the film.
Yeah. Oh.
The ultimate enemy, the ultimate villain in Black Panther is colonialism. Clearly, that's pretty much as openly stated as it can possibly get. But it acknowledges that in order to battle the damage that colonialism has done to the world, isolating yourself from the world, especially when you have the resources to actually make a meaningful change, is not the right way to do it. Because sooner or later, the consequences of your actions, or rather your inaction, come down to bite you. And you were killed in a very dastardly manner.
Yes, I didn't see what killed me at all. Let's go with
So
this.
it's funny that you mentioned Black Panther, because I have to breach a topic that's surprisingly, by sheer coincidence, tangential to this very discussion, except it's the opposite and it's bad.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna say one last thought on the message Black Panther's going for, at least, because I actually did like the idea that basically they basically say that if you really want to make change and basically make the world for a better, then we must start making bridges rather than, burning them and rather than coming together, if you know what I mean. So I just like that message it goes for its ending. And I think that's quite important in this day and age, to basically stop the cycle of hatred with peace and love, essentially.
Yes.
And basically bring allies who share that ideal with you.
Yes. What's great about Wakanda is that it is, on paper, the best possible version of itself, an advanced African civilization that was not touched and tainted by the white man and colonialism, but it's still not without its fault, and it's trying to analyze what its faults are and how they can do and become better. But it's still overall a pretty darn good nation in that sense.
Yeah.
Now, what if you were to take the extreme opposite route of all that? Okay, let me explain, because this is a perfect segue, a very unexpected segue that you provided me to talk about a game that I have been playing as of late. And I'm going to preface this entire discussion by telling you that I absolutely adore this game. It is a tactical RPG by the title of Fae Tactics.
Oh yeah, I heard about that title.
It's pretty great. It's honestly everything I've ever wanted my tactical RPG titles to be, and I did not even know I wanted it. It's mechanically, it's one of the most well and fully realized games of its magnitude. It goes a bit too far into adding mechanics on top of other mechanics that might get annoying and overwhelming at times. The game becomes very challenging, and it demands a full mastery of its own gameplay loop as you progress. But I do like how everything about it is very much streamlined. You don't just get experience points by killing enemies, you get experience points by doing every single action in the game. And also the entire party gets experience points at the end of a stage, regardless if you use them actively or not. So it's very streamlined in that sense. However, I'm not here to talk about any of that. Although I do want to gush about a couple of things. And these are very light spoilers for Fae Tactics. I did not beat the game as of this recording, but I've seen the majority of it, I am confident to say.
Yeah.
So you are a pink-haired magical girl, or a witch, that travels the world with her trusty, super cool German shepherd, and an adopted canary daughter, so to speak. And she can summon creatures that she defeats to fight for her. And then she meets party members and has many adventures. She's looking for her mother. At some point, they fight the crazy cultists from H.P. Lovecraft's Shadows over Innsmouth, which leads to a very special boss battle. And one of your party members is a fairy whose wings have been torn asunder by those crazy cultists. And in order to save her life, Peony, the girl's name, the main character's name, had to wired up several parts of her motorcycle to her body to replace both her wings and some of her internal organs, making her effectively a cyborg fairy.
That sounds pretty cool.
One of your party members is a cyberpunk fairy. And she's out for blood.
Nice.
That's very good. That's so good. And it's so much fun. Also, you're constantly fighting against the Jar'et, the Gremlin King. Obvious reference there. And the main villains are the 4 horses of the apocalypse. Literally, the main villains are evil horses. It's great. I love it. It's so much fun. But alas, there is a significant issue with it.
What would that be then?
There comes a point in which you are tasked to fight against the customary evil church. Because, it's an RPG, so there has to be an evil church in there somewhere.
Yeah, because there's always evil in the religion and all that.
Well, yes and no, because this example goes out of its way to include everything that's wrong with society. It's the total package in that sense, because it's not just an evil church, it's a nation, it's an empire, it's a totalitarian regime, a theocracy, an empire, and that means it's imperialistic and colonialistic. It has a history of genocide of fellow humans even before they started targeting the Fae creatures, because they are the new bad guys in their narrative. They use very openly fascist rhetoric and nationalistic propaganda to maintain control over the population. They have a large focus on building weapons of militaristic destruction. That means they are a militaristic technocracy on top of it all. You might be starting to draw several hundreds parallels with real life at this point. And even if this nation wasn't meant to be an allegory for America, which, what with all the indoctrination, religious and socio-political indoctrination, the military-industrial complex, the fascist propaganda, the colonialism, the imperialism and all that, even if it wasn't meant to represent America, the developing studio is based on New York City, by the way, it is pretty much a condemnation and a pretty thorough conflagration of everything that's wrong within so-called Western civilization. From the Crusades to capitalism and everything in between.
Yeah.
It's pretty thorough in that sense, and I respect it. The problem with this nation, the problem with this very openly religiously bigoted, racist, colonialistic, imperialistic nation, all the people in it are black.
Okay, we might have a problem here.
Yes, so here's the deal. The people in this nation are all black, and you are choosing to portray this entire group, this entire nation of black people as the allegoric embodiment of American imperialism, colonialism, religious bigotry, and everything else that's bad about the Occident, if you will. Everything that's wrong about society and its systemic corruption, the propaganda, the industrial military complex, the fascism, the population control, all of this, and you are associating all of this to black people.
I think I might need a boot to kick him up the arse with.
Okay, so I don't know what they were thinking or how they were thinking, but this had to be a conscious decision. They spent years lovingly crafting this game, which is very much a passion project. And it's a really good game. Again, I love it. Dang it. But then you come across this little snag in the road, and it turns out to be a deer in the lights that you're hitting with your truck, and then you feel bad about it. And then everything else that happens seems to happen as a way to mitigate on this issue that they created for themselves. One of the people from this nation joins my group, and she is openly rebelling against the systemic racism. Which at this point it feels like the developing team is pulling a Capcom. You know, a Resident Evil 5 Capcom?
Yeah.
Where the solution to mitigate an issue that they created for themselves, and it's very tone deaf, is to have a character who's black helping you, killing all the other characters who are black, which is what you're doing effectively in this game during this time in the game. And that is somehow even more tonally deaf.
I mean, the only thing I can say about Resident Evil 5 really is that there were a few white people in that place that also got infected.
They added those white people afterwards, after the backlash, by the way. And it doesn't really fix the fundamental issue that you are effectively playing as an American agent going around in Africa, in whatever region of Africa, doing what, well, American agents of the CIA variety have been doing for a long, long time, disrupting local governments. Clearly, this is, he's technically fighting zombies, but from an optics perspective, it looks really bad.
Yeah, it does. I mean, like I said, I can't defend that. I just know that at least, you know, it's there at least, but that's what it is at the table.
But wait, it gets even better in Fae Tactics.
Right?
I mean, okay, well, I don't know if it's better or worse, but essentially, well, it's poorly thought out in general. This was, I think, personally, this is a mistake, unless they have a very good reason for doing so, and I cannot think of a single positive, good reason for this particular choice. And no, the fact that it's a fantasy world is not an excuse, especially since you are very much commenting on real-life problems. What with all the indoctrination? What with all the aforementioned totalitarianism and religious bigotry and killing people who are different in the name of God? You purposefully chose to have black people as the racist, bigoted characters in this game. And it gets even better, in between quotes, because we defeat the mastermind that drove the people into being racists and whatnot. And by doing that, we single-handedly defeated systemic racism, which is bollocks, and I don't need to tell you that. And it's even worse because it's now removing the agency and the individual faults of all these people of the nation. So, according to the game, black people are either racists or they are not racists, but in that sense, they are just stupid. It's not a good decision and not a good look, if you ask me. Look, I am speculating here. I cannot read minds, and I don't know what is up with the history and production of this game, whatever the reasons might be. And I think I am the first one to ever bring it up, because this game has been just released and it's not immediately popular. But I have to believe that I will not be the last one to bring this issue up. I refuse to believe I will be the last one to bring this issue up. I may be one of the first ones, but I do hope that this gets addressed and a good explanation at the very least is provided. What was the intent behind this design choice, this decision? And until that, I will refrain from criticizing these people too heavily. I will give them the benefit of the doubt based entirely on the selfish desire to really, really enjoy this game, because, as I said, it's really good otherwise. It's my favorite tactical RPG, I think.
It's just this one nagging thing that's basically...
This one nagging thing that gets resolved in a very unsatisfying and obvious manner, like any other RPG. Which is, again, that whole chapter of the game is the worst one by far, and I'm glad it's over. Because now I can focus on things that actually matter, like fighting more evil horses and collecting monsters, because yes, and I guess just enjoy the characters, which are very likable.
Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents about the burgeoning issue with Fae Tactics. And if this game gets more popular, I believe that this issue will blow up, as it rightfully should. Who knows, it might not even be an actual issue, and there might be a good explanation for it, and I'm waiting for it. I want to know why this decision was made. That's all I want to know. Why? Just why?
Yes, I think we all would like to know that right now, because it's like, this game sounds like it's really good, but...
It's really, really good! I cannot overstate how much I like this game. It's my game of the year so far. So it pains me to have found this situation in it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that black people or black people's nations cannot be fascist or totalitarian. There are plenty of military regimes in Africa, I believe.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that, I'm completely ignorant. But aesthetically, presentation-wise, everything that was described in regards to this fictional nation in Fae Tactics, the indoctrination, the propaganda, the colonialism, the genocide, that's a firm and clear-cut indicator of First Nations doing, of what First Nations do to third world countries, and the lies they propagate in order to maintain control.
Yeah.
And all of that, and I know all of that because all of that is being questioned thoroughly and harshly, now more than ever, in the year 2020. In fact, think about it, this game, Fae Tactics, comes out in the summer of 2020, during Black Lives protests.
Yeah.
And it feels especially tone deaf because of that.
Yeah. So we'll just have to hope we get an answer to that, creatively speaking.
Yes.
Because
otherwise, Fae Tactics is pretty enjoyable, and if you follow me on Twitter, you can read all about my many findings and opinions about it.
Yeah.
I think we are done with the podcast for tonight.
Yes, we are, because we've been at this for an hour, and I think we've exhausted our subjects.
We definitely need more of Pierrot's escapades in our life, don't we?
I'll see if Danton has any more, but those are the two that came to my mind instantly. Anyway, thanks for joining us, folks. This has been a lovely evening. Thanks for joining us, folks. Good night and take care.
Look, it's a wild Pierrot. Yes, I don't have an outro. I want to sue me.
Build bridges.
Who cares? I'm going home. Goodbye. Just shut up, stupid people.
Let us just build bridges together, everybody. All the bridges.